I'd like to maybe latch onto that theme of gratitude because I believe what a great way to show gratitude it is to share the bounty that we have and to use our privilege to ensure that other people can join into this bounty, and that also importantly includes future generations. We're living in a troubled times. Climate change is real. I mean, look at all the floodings and hurricanes and whatnot that we've been experiencing in Aotearoa. I'm not quite sure about the composition of this council, but I hope there's no climate deniers here anymore in this realm. I think it's a well-established fact that climate change is real, and that human production and economic systems are a big contributor to this process that might have, according to every scientist that has knowledge about this, might lead to catastrophic effects, even worse than what we've been seeing in the last few weeks with the floodings in Auckland, especially Coromandel. So I've come today to address you and urge you to find ways to address this challenge. We have a climate emergency declared by the Council in, what year was that? And that is a good first step, or that is a good direction that you've been taking. And I would like to urge you to press on and go on and be brave and be bold and walk that path of sharing the bounty, sharing the privilege, sharing the gratitude that way. So I'm aware that the mayor and the councillors might have been approached about the plant-based treaty in recent weeks. And the plant-based treaty is a document that invites people to acknowledge the fundamental connection and relationship between animal agriculture and climate change. Animal agriculture is responsible for about 50% of New Zealand's greenhouse emissions. It is vital to reduce our emissions in the agricultural sector if we want to have an Aotearoa that is enjoyable, livable, swimmable rivers, all of the perks that we advertise overseas when we talk about green and clean New Zealand, right? Is that just a myth these days, or can we find ways to become green and clean again? I believe the plant-based treaty is a way to achieve that goal of being green and clean again in Aotearoa. And tourism is a vital industry, I suppose, and tourists might come back more happily, more willingly if we have a beautiful nature and landscape for them to enjoy. The plant-based treaty, I'm just going to assume that councillors did see those messages that they've been receiving. Yeah, I see some nods. Okay, so you know the basics around that. You might also then know that New Edinburgh, our beautiful sister city, has recently become a signatory to this treaty. And I do believe there is a great chance to connect with our sister city on this matter of climate change and the climate emergency. And tap into that beautiful relationship that we have to get perhaps some inspiration out of their bold move. The way they've done it is they did an impact assessment. The plant-based treaty has 38 concrete policy suggestions that can be picked up and implemented by national governments, but also councils. So an impact statement is a thing that I would like to see the council pursue on this matter, and then based on the findings of that assessment, which I do believe will show that it is a very worthy thing to become a signatory for Dunedin. There's a time running, right? That's beautiful, 30 seconds. Yeah, so this is my matter. Please look at this very carefully. Do this impact assessment. Follow the guidance maybe of whoever is your spiritual guide or intellectual mentor or political guide. We're all in this together. We have political differences, but we need to make sure to share our gratitude and our bounty. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. It was beautifully timed, Mr McLeod. We have a question from Councillor Walker.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Two questions. First one I think is fairly obvious, but I'll ask it anyway. So in terms of our higher level 2030 zero carbon goals that we have around the table here, do you think that us becoming a signatory to the plant-based treaty would be a sort of fundamental part of those goals?
Yes, thank you for the question. I do believe, like I said, that the Council has done some good groundwork by declaring an emergency, a climate emergency, and making this goal of carbon neutral by 2030. How to get there is the critical question, and I'm convinced that becoming signatory to the plant-based treaty is a fundamental way to achieve those goals, and it will be very helpful indeed.
Thank you. And second question is a more awkward one, and I ask this as a lapsed vegan. Why do you think there's a perception out there that moving to a plant-based diet is somehow onerous, difficult, impossible, etc., etc., sort of in the same way that it was impossible to get plastic bags out of supermarkets, for example?
I like a good awkward question. There is that perception that it is hard, and I think, not to misquote our mayor, but there was a sentiment also expressed that it might be too hard. Fair enough, we all have our habits, we all have our cultures, we're entrenched in the way that we live. But change is necessary on an individual level, but also on an institutional level. The individual level might actually be very daunting, but it's these days super easy. I believe you go into the supermarket, there's vegan products left, right, and center, and they're mostly in a similar price range these days. The perception maybe that it's difficult comes also from, and I said it with no disrespect, an attitude of privilege that we're scared to let go, but I would invite people to see it as our privilege that we have the power to make changes and that we have the agency. And there's support networks there. Vegan Society in Dunedin is always happy to support anybody who's making those steps. There's nutritional advisors who are studied in these matters. There can be meal plans arranged. There's buddy systems from the Vegan Society of Aotearoa. So anybody who's willing to even just like explore this path, there's multiple options to get support. And yeah, we're here. I'm also an organizer with the Dunedin Aotearoa Vegan Society. I'm not officially here as such, but yeah, there's networks and groups and organizations that they can help people to get those get across this bump. Yeah.
Thank you for that comprehensive answer, and I'll now to taking on that challenge.
Very good. That appears to cover it. Thank you very much for your presentation, Mr McLeod.